Take you now to the West 2 Courthouse studio. We have Andrea Jackson standing by with West 2 legal expert, defense attorney Richard Hornsby. And I got to say, guys, never witnessed anything like that before. You almost felt bad for Jose Baez, but a major violation here, and the judge is very clearly upset about it.
Good morning, Sion. Never a dull moment in this trial. Richard, what is your take on what just happened here? You watched it unfold. You're an attorney. What's your perspective? What's going through attorney Jose Baez's mind right now?
Well, I know Jose has got to be very concerned, and it's almost like I'm sure he feels scared right now. I've been rebuked by a judge before, never to that extent. It's never a pleasant experience, especially not in front of your client, and especially not in front of the world. So I feel for him as a defense attorney, but I think he dug his own hole and got himself here. And here's why. Normally under the rules of discovery, as long as you list a witness, that's enough. It's up to the other side to go depose that witness and find out exactly what he will say. But the way Jose Baez handled the case in the very beginning is what caused Judge Perry to enter this extraordinary order. I've never had a judge enter an order where I had to disclose exactly what my experts would say. And here's why Judge Perry entered this order. Remember, this case has gone on for over 3 years. For the first year and a half, 2 years, Jose Baez never listed a single expert witness on his witness list, yet he had all these experts like Dr. Lee, Dr. Kobylinski, Dr. Spitz on air on all these media outlets testifying about what, or saying what they would testify to when they're called, but they weren't listed as witnesses. And so finally, once Judge Perry took over, and don't forget, Jose Baez asked for a new judge, and he got his new judge, which is a man that's going to hold him in contempt, possibly. But what happened was the state finally said, Judge, they haven't listed a single witness. These people are on air. It's a circus. And Judge Perry said, you know what? There is some gamesmanship going on. You're not going to wait till last minute. Not only going to require you to list all your witnesses by a certain date, you have to list what they will say. And that is an extraordinary measure. It's one thing to be required to list your witness so there is no surprise. It's another thing to put it on paper what exactly they will say. Now, to Jose Baez's credit, it does appear that that superimposition, which I think every lawyer in the United States thinks probably should not have been admitted in the first place.
And you're talking about the duct tape on the photograph that was a computer-generated image.
Right. It was highly prejudicial just because Casey Anthony was in the picture to begin with. But the fact it occurred, Jose Baez, they never really addressed it straight on, but I never seen it disclosed in discovery. I was unaware of it, and Jose Baez indicated in this hearing that he was unaware of it until it was shown, and it appears it was because of a discovery mix-up is what really happened. You know, I thought it was fair game for him to come back with an expert to say, well, Judge, we're basically rebutting this issue that was just raised and we were unaware of until the trial. But, you know, of course, Judge Perry, having been an excellent attorney himself, said, well, you know what, maybe that's true, but this is what a real attorney would have done. They would have said, I talked to my expert 2 days ago, here's a supplemental report about what he will say, so that Jeff Ashton would be in the middle of trial in front of the jury and saying, wait a minute, what's this guy getting ready to say? So at the end of the day, this is a hole that Jose Baez dug for himself. It began 3 years ago, and it just keeps getting deeper. And I got to wonder where Cheney Mason is, why he hasn't kind of reined in the thing here.
Because to the layperson, this looks like a rookie maneuver in the courtroom, right?
To the layperson, yeah, this looks like a complete, absolute circus. Everybody's wondering who Jose Baez is, what's going on here. And it's frustrating because to the defense attorneys, especially Florida defense attorneys, they're like, I've never had a judge tell me I had to list exactly what my experts would say in advance. That's just completely unheard of, because remember, the defense has no burden, so to have your witnesses say in advance what they may say, because you may not even put them on, so that's why it's generally enough for them to be available for deposition. And this is all Jose Baez's own doing. I don't have a lot of sympathy for him.
All right, Sion wants to ask you a question, Richard.
Yeah, Richard, in the middle of this rebuke of Jose Baez, we heard Judge Perry slip in the reason why they apparently were starting at 8:30 without the jury, unbeknownst to us, but he revealed it just now outside the presence of the jury, saying apparently there were some possible issues of violation about jury sequestration. How huge would that have been? Apparently they worked it out, we think. They went on with trial today, but were you stunned to hear Judge Perry say that? Possible violations of the rule of sequestration.
Well, if it was a rule of sequestration, it was as to witnesses, not to the jury, I would assume. And that's a pretty big deal, because you're not supposed to go tell witnesses what other witnesses said, specifically because you don't want to color their testimony. I think what would have been a fair thing for him to do, and what I've done, so hopefully I wasn't wrong either, is you can say, hey, what would you think about this hypothetical scenario? And then he can give you your opinion about what he thinks that entails. And if that's what happened, that might be okay. But considering it happened at 8:30 before this witness came on, it must mean some other issues. And that's a big deal, because if a witness is found to have violated the rule of sequestration, he can't exclude that witness, and that's not too damaging of a remedy, the courts say.
Judge.
What do you think is going through Ashton's mind at this point?
Here's my frustration. I've had many trials with Jeff Ashton. This is as much gamesmanship on his part as it is on Jose Baez's part. Jeff Ashton specifically using this rule to just frustrate Jose Baez, and that's what frustrates me. I've had a lot of cases with Jeff, and this is what he does. He uses the rules, he uses the law, and he uses nuances in them to the best of his ability. And there's been times in a deposition myself with Jeff Ashton where we've gotten in such an argument where we've stopped the deposition and gone and forced a judge to mediate our dispute. But the problem is, Jeff Ashton now is acting how Jose Baez should have been acting at the beginning of the trial. He's challenging every piece of evidence because he's trying to win for Kaylee Anthony and for the state of Florida. And I'm not saying I agree with the extent he's going, but that's Jeff Ashton, and that's why a lot of defense attorneys respect him.
Sion?
Andrea, thanks. Richard, I had another question for you. There's been a lot of talk made about what could happen on appeal if Casey Anthony is in fact proven and convicted of the murder of her daughter, and a lot of people saying that she may have a case on appeal for ineffective counsel. Do you think that this could be it? Stand by, actually. We're going to get you answering that question in a minute, but they are back in court.